1.
Hello, welcome to Plat Chat Valorant. I've no idea what episode it is, but that doesn't matter. It's in the title anyway.
I mean, yeah, I don't know, 64?
Sure. 67.
89?
72.
Guys, it's episode 100. We finally made it.
Oh,
Yes.
Without the fireworks.
Sick,
Yeah,
sick.
This has been a tough one to start. We've had all types of problems. Connor thought that his keyboard was his mixer.
Yeah, we
he
found out that
couldn't get
Connor's had his
audio
microphone
working.
plugged into his keyboard all along.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds right. That's good. That's exactly correct.
You're doing something new with your hair, though, now, too.
Oh, yeah.
I've noticed.
So this
It actually
is actually the hair is new. Yes, because I cut my hair.
It's
It
no
is-
longer-
the hair has been cut.
I mean, it is still the joke, but you actually did do something with your hair. Something
Yeah, I mean,
new.
I cut it.
I like
It's
it.
been shorn. It's
It's
actually pretty much the exact same hair. That it's just I had to cut it in a bit. So this is how it's normally supposed to look if it's cut on time.
I
Because
like
I had
it.
to move and go to Florida.
Yeah, you're
and
looking
also,
nice and clean.
I was very busy, and also I feared the state at points. I just didn't get a haircut for a little bit. All good.
Yeah, definitely. The sex appeal on this show has just risen astronomically since getting this haircut.
Yeah,
That is correct.
Through the roof.
it's gone.
We have daddy
gone
energy
crazy.
and a real daddy. we have both.
Yeah, we do.
them
We've got
both
some
here.
serious daddy energy on the show. We have done for a while, and it's not coming from Avast. I also like the fact that we've still got this pumpkin here, but I'm worried at some point that it's just going to ferment and fall to pieces onto the desk. And I don't know what the life expectancy of a pumpkin is. How long do they last? Encased, no one's cut into it, but it's also being being kept in like an air-conditioned environment, but it's not a fridge.
Gotta find
It's almost
out.
like you left it in a pantry.
Says about 2 to 3 months
2 to 3 months. That's
Just,
a long
just
time.
in time. Wouldn't it
if
be
it's
beautifully
uncarved.
poetic if it just crumbled after champions and Gambit would inevitably lose
Gambit are just going to
to
decompose
the North
for
American
champs.
side of 100 Thieves?
Yeah, and then we
And
could just
deep
put a
down.
little Christmas hat on it as
would
it
be beautiful.
melts away. God,
Yeah.
that really would be something.
Tune into
wouldn't it?
episode 105 to find out what it looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we won't be able to calculate which episode that is, but you'll be able to. We are sponsored for this episode as well. You and us are going to listen to a lovely little paragraph. Let me pull this up from our sponsor Manscaped. Who
Are you guys engaged with this ad right now as we waste time pulling it up?
Let me hit you with this one, Balla. Autumn is in the air, the pumpkins are in the patch, or sometimes on the
there.
desk.
Yeah.
And our friends at Manscaped are here to make sure you don't carve your pants pumpkin while you're grooming. And I assume that pants pumpkin in that instance, they would say pants pumpkins. Oh, no, it does say pants pumpkins. So, yeah, pants pumpkins and like a squash or something. I assume the metaphor
eggplant.
is. Yeah, and a big old eggplant in the middle. 2 tiny little pumpkins. I don't know what size they are. Let me move on anyway. Let me move on. Make sure you're keeping things fresh this fall with the leaders in male grooming and their brand new 4th generation performance package. Are you ready to take the leap into fall with Manscaped?
Yes.
I'm pausing for a response from the audience.
Definitely.
Excellent.
I'm ready to fall into their arms.
Excellent.
Yes.
Well, you can join the 2 million men worldwide using Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code VALOCHAT20. And specifically, I want you to pay attention that it's VALOCHAT20 this time because the previous code got ruined. So I'm not gonna explain the ways how it got ruined, but VALOCHAT20, it is different compared to the previous episodes too. So yeah, they're definitely the best people if you're looking for any below the belt grooming. You don't want to be using scissors down there. You'll chop your balls off.
Scissors?
I mean, that's. What did you do before you had a shaver that could do that? Because I had scissors down there, and it was...
You were using scissors?
It was a disaster.
I mean, I imagine so.
Yeah.
Do you still got both of the pumpkins?
I've got both of the pumpkins. I must say, I had previously been very, very cautious and, in some sense, scared, you know?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
That's...
What Yeah, I feel like there isn't a great option unless you have a tool like Manscaped's lawnmower in which to go to town down there.
I mean, the lawnmower
scared of anything.
lawnmower 4.0 is certainly the best option in my humble opinion. It is. It is pretty,
Okay, well, you can use code VALOChat20 anyway. Let's
Tell
move
them
on
about
to the show.
ball deodorant first.
Do you want to talk to them about the ball deodorant? No. Okay. The first topic that we got today, the big news, I think the biggest news actually, is that George Geddes reported that 100 Thieves were moving Steel to the bench and putting Boy in to replace him in the starting lineup for LCQ. Steel and 100 Thieves then came out afterwards and said Steel is still planning to return for the VCT 2022 season, and it was his decision to take a step back due to stress. I think he said that he was like intensely stressed at the like half of every map, and it seemed like it was affecting him mentally to a pretty intense degree. I mean, IGL in this game cannot be fun, but the move is apparently that Nitro is going to take over IGLing. Boy comes in to replace him, and they have 7 to come in as their sub for LCQ. So Steel isn't even subbing, ostensibly. He's just on the bench until 2020, fully sitting out for LCQ and Champions if they make it, apparently, according to both this report and what the team has put out, which is a huge move for a team that would have otherwise been considered favorites in NA/LCQ.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of questions to be had around this. I mean, one of the main ones is how does that affect... I mean, if we want to reflect on the brief conversation we were having about LCQ last week, like I think, Balla, was it you who said that 100 Thieves had an 80% chance of qualifying, I think, through LCQ? Yeah, like that is definitely a topic to revisit now.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
So they are going to be... I just want to be clear as well. So they're playing with Boy at the LCQ.
That's what that's what George Geddes is reporting. I don't know whether 100 Thieves would come out and said that, but as far as I'm aware, yes.
That seems to be the case, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's... So, I mean, one question around that is, I mean, presumably Boy is going to be playing what? Sentinel? I mean...
Yeah, I think he's probably going to fill in directly.
Because it was not really his role on Anbox.
Didn't he play it for a time? Didn't Seb move to Smokes and he moved to Sentinel for a small period of time?
No, not really.
No?
Not that I remember. I mean, towards the end, he was playing a little Breach on some of the maps, playing Smokes. But yeah, so there's a bit of an interesting overlap there. I think in regards to the firepower, it's not too dissimilar, him and Steel.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean, listen, it's probably... I mean, I can't imagine who else would be really a better sub on short notice than someone who has played the game professionally that also has been working with the team as an analyst. So
has also been taking a long break from the game though, and has transitioned into an analyst. Like, he's probably not been involved in active scrim time for the team for the last 3 months or however long it's been since he played for
At
Anbox.
least 3 months, yeah.
Has it been 3 months now?
Well, number one, we don't necessarily know that he hasn't been participating in scrim time, but also he is like working as an analyst in that. And maybe my thing was when he got signed, and when there was a rumor that he was going to join them, I was like, well, there has to be a reason why they're going to do this eventually, like for like a stopgap at some point or something like that, because there's no way he would have just gone from Anbox to 100 Thieves and just to not play or just to go in an analyst role. Maybe there was, but obviously now we could see the result of it. So I don't think that he's going to be out of shape or anything like that. I think he's going to be in shape. And the best part about it is that he is going to be part of the system already, because he was there developing it and helping them with that. And I think that's probably like the coolest thing about the move overall, is that they actually took somebody, worked with him for a bit, or had him work with them, and now he is being incorporated in it rather than just some random sub. So that helps the chances for LCQ not lessen too significantly. I mean, still significantly, but
it feels to me like the biggest shift is going to be Nitro taking over IGLing. The small quotes that George Geddes has in his article, I don't know where they come from. It might have been Steel talking on stream, or it might have been a direct quote that he gave to George. I don't know whether there is sourcing for those quotes. But
this is him
during the event.
So this is him like during interviews at Berlin.
Right.
So it's not even like directly speaking to the move. It's just him talking about like after the game, right? So,
right.
like,
I like that it's described
that's
as
also
a
where that
relatively
mental
successful
clarity
event for them.
thing comes from. That's not a like I didn't see him say that he stepped down for stress or anything like that. It's just speculated in this article that, you know, he had some problems focusing at Berlin, and that was just like him explaining a bad performance, not necessarily like here's what's happening right now.
They didn't say that he was. Many people thought that he was being like cut initially, had like come out and stuff, that he was like roster. So that's why a lot of people were confused. They're like, you just had, which is also why it's so funny, because it adds on to the fact that like the writing of the article also implies that like when you read the article, it says after a relatively solid performance from 100 Thieves, as if beating both of the best European teams, including the one that eventually goes on to win the event, is like not like and a top 4 finish is not like a really good performance. And then it's like also and then Steel's gone, and he's talking about like, oh, Steel's mental problems during this, just like some of the struggles he faced during the event. It just sounds like a cut, it sounds. And then it comes out like maybe it's not a cut, maybe he's just subbing out for the time being. But it was very confusing because like that's a really good performance from 100 Thieves at Berlin, and to remove someone that honestly had a very solid time at the event overall and was the IGL for the team seemed extremely confusing, other than like we're cutting them, So there was a lot of misconception around the article when it first came out.
Yeah, definitely. Of course. So what do you think this does to their chances? Does this move them from being favorites to now Exit being favorites, or a C9 with a vanity or something like that? How much of an impact do you think this makes? Because it's sizable. This isn't just a one-to-one replacement of a duelist or even a one-to-one replacement of a sentinel. This is shifting the IGL role as well as making a replacement. That's got to have a fairly significant impact on their teamwork, but in some senses it potentially could be a positive as well. Nitro's an accomplished IGL in his own right. It's theoretically possible that 100 Thieves might end up performing better given more time with this roster in this kind of system, but it doesn't seem like they have long enough to be able to make it work to the fullest extent.
Yeah, sadly, if you enjoyed the KO 100 Thieves, might not be something that we'll be seeing anymore.
Plus, Boy was part of the mastermind behind it, and he just whips it out here again.
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
Boy on KO.
It's possible. It's definitely possible. That would honestly be maybe an easier role for him to slot into in regards to what the other players on the team would be playing, because they would just be on the same roles rather than, I don't know if they wanted him to play smokes like he did before or something like that.
But I don't think that's gonna happen.
You never know.
Well, I mean, Boy comes in to play smoke, Nitro goes full-time Jett like he did on Breeze. They're just running Jett Rainer everywhere. Is that what you're telling me?
No.
Who moves into the Sentinel? Oh, no. God. Open so many cans of worms.
I don't know. I it's so hard to. I feel like you're just speculating. It's just so speculative. I don't even know what to say. Like, it's just we don't know what is going on inside of the team and what Steel is doing in regards to his in-game leading. You just have to wait and see. I know that's a boring answer.
Yeah,
but how do you answer any of this? You literally do not know.
Yeah.
So it's just, I just don't have
we can
an
make
answer.
some predictive. We can at least put some potential, like let's say theoretically, 100 Thieves, we go to watch the event and they don't perform well, right? Then we can kind of directly correlate that's like, well, swapped up, depending on what the roles are too. It's like, well, they swapped IGLs, they swapped roles. Then we're like, okay. And then we can react to Andy's the opposite way, where if they show up and do really well, it's like Steel's the problem. Boomer, cut him,
What the?
It's a little flash of Matt Morello there. So, who knows what reason?
Well, I think it's fair to speculate and say, like, for example, 100 Thieves go from the favorites of the event to like slightly less than Xset in terms of like probability to win. Maybe.
Yeah,
I think you can you can definitely say that they're no longer high favorites, right? Like, and if you replace a player, particularly IGL, that's right before, sure. Like you can definitely for sure baseline say that we can no longer go into this 100% confident that 100 Thieves is going to win the event.
Yeah, there's certainly a higher level of variability because there are so many unknown factors. I'm sure even from their point of view, there's unknown factors in terms of what their performance is going to be like because they haven't been scrimming with this 5-man lineup constantly. They certainly weren't right before Berlin scrimming with Boy all the time. I'm sure of that. So coming into LCQ, they're going to have to be making shifts, get him up to speed in terms of small things that perhaps he wasn't directly involved with as an analyst. I'm interested to see it, though. I do feel like this blows the field wide open. And it just seems, a little bit.
Blows it wide open?
I think previously I would have had 100 Thieves and Xset as almost guaranteed to dominate whatever side of the bracket they were on. And because they're going to be high seeded, I think when I look at these teams, there's clearly 2 top teams, 100 Thieves and Xset. Then you've got the teams that have a fighter's chance, like your Cloud9s with Vanity, I think is an obvious one. And FaZe, if they turn up at a LAN event, are the other one. And like maybe a team like Rise or something goes crazy too. But all of the others are outside shots. If 100 Thieves is playing a bit wobbly, and then you only have Xset, is way more likely that one team ends up getting upset than 2. Right? If you only have one eventual winner, I felt like previously it was very likely it was going to be 100 Thieves or Xset. Very, very likely. Now I think if one of those teams is starting to look weaker and it no longer becomes a major upset to beat them, then the chances of that one favorite getting upset become much more likely than the chances of both the favorites getting upset. You have a significantly easier path if you're like a Cloud9 and you're thinking about, oh, well, we can hit one of the good teams in the upper bracket and then we only have to win against them once.
Yeah.
I think it does open things up for NALCQ quite a bit. If 100 Thieves come in and they look significantly weaker, which is still an if.
Yeah. It is a big if. And I still have a lot of faith in what we witnessed at Berlin in regards to the 100 Thieves experienced LAN players being so good. I just still have a lot of faith in those guys. That they're still the favorite for me. And then it's still probably Xset and Cloud9 are the other 2 potential teams. And honestly, it's just not even that long of a period of time from Berlin to LCQ. It's coming up so fast that it's not like there's been massive or will be massive shifts in the meta or the way that the game is played. Fracture's not going to be in. So it's not like there's even enough time that if they did really need steals in-game leading, that things are going to be so different in the game that that will be more of a negative factor for them. You know what I mean?
Like they can just copy-paste stuff from Berlin, you mean, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, they can probably just keep kind of playing how they did at the end when they switched to like the Nitro Astra type comp. And I'm sure, yeah, and if Boy just plays Killjoy or whatever, like I think that's fine. I mean, and even at that,
I think that's fine for LCQ for sure, but they need to start working. I think that's one of the reasons why Steel is not fitting on the team anymore, was potentially because they were stagnant, right? Like in terms of their style, in terms of their strats and stuff. Yeah, sure, they brought in the KO for the one time, well, not one time, multiple maps type of situations, but their actual play was very much similar all the time. So I don't know. Maybe that's a reason why they want to stop being stagnant. So when do they start making those changes? And is Boy somebody who can help them with that? I don't know.
It's going to be interesting as well to just see them function under a different system, I think. That's one of the things that I'm interested in. All right, is him playing Phoenix. I highly doubt he's going to be playing Phoenix in the game. Yo, subscribe! Pound that subscribe button for our channel. And possibly, there you go. No.
That's
anytime someone tells you to subscribe,
we put these compilation clips up. Go like our channel.
All right, the other big news of one of the teams that's heading to LCQ, as the classic right click just gets abused there, is FaZe. So FaZe have changed up their coaching roster. Originally, this was reported as like JDM's going to FaZe, almost replacing Trippy, and I saw people on Reddit talking about that as if Trippy was completely gone. In reality, what FaZe have announced is that JDM is joining as head coach and Trippy is now assistant coach. So they're still both involved with the team. JDM, if you're not aware, former CS player, most famous as far as I'm aware for his strange posture while he plays, is the anti-Redgar. He's got the Balla posture right now.
Technically, it's not really the anti-Redgar, because an anti-Redgar would be good posture. JDM is still bad posture, but just in a different direction.
I would argue good posture is in between both extremes of bad posture. I would argue Redgar's this is...
You look like a fucking alien out of, like...
Yeah, so JDM and Redgar are both bad posture. And then, so he's not the anti... You
see the world. You see the world purely in black and white, Avast. You see the world as just good or bad.
What do you mean it's black? There is. I mean, it's just bad posture, right? I mean,
but there's different ways of having bad posture. You could be doing a headstand. That'd be the opposite of standing up.
I agree. The engineer in me, there's a fucking there's a line all the way 200%, and then there's 0%. 100% is good posture, you know, all the way.
Yeah, he's just the opposite. I'm still trying to unpack headstand is standing is inverse of standing up.
Yeah, I mean, if you did a headstand, you'd be standing on your head, right?
Well,
I mean,
yeah. I mean, you would still. I mean, it depends on. Is that up? You'd be upright technically.
Is that good posture for gaming?
For gaming?
Is that good posture for gaming?
No.
I would argue no. Exactly. Is that?
Well, probably not.
No, absolutely. But is that's
good strength training? If
Technically,
you do
that's not
like
good
that.
posture in general because you're not supposed to live your life like that. You're not supposed to be walking around like that in general. Or
could you do that?
That's a nice hollow hold, though.
Could I do it?
that?
Probably
I like that
not. I don't know.
goalpost
I don't
shift.
think so.
Well, can you do that though? What?
These misdirection, these red herrings you're throwing out are ridiculous.
Okay, Balla, give me the lowdown on JDM. Why is this guy going to be a good coach for FaZe? Or what qualifications does he possess that might make him a good coach for FaZe?
I was gonna say, put words in my mouth. Look, he played for Liquid for a long time in CS as their main opper. He went to a bunch of different majors, won like the NA minors. He was on like the best team in NA for a while, and then just disappeared. So I literally don't know where he's been. He's
been gone for 2 years, right?
2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 2 years.
That's a long time.
So that's a very long time to suddenly just fucking show up to be the head coach of Valorant. But it is, I actually think it's a pretty, when we talked about the addition of Trippy, we thought like this was going to be potentially like the turning point for the FaZe roster. And it really wasn't, honestly. But does the addition of JDM, is this the turning point? Because I feel like still a lot of times when we talk about FaZe and we look at their success, it's kind of defined by sometimes it feels like in the past, at least, and even when we've seen them more recently, is that their fundamentals are still lacking comparatively to other teams. Do we feel like that's still the case?
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for a moment there because I just saw JDM's face and I was blown away. He's a very attractive man. I don't want this to come off as rude, although it might be a little.
Okay.
I think the Easter Island figures might be modeled after JDM. He has
the Moy?
The what? Sorry.
The Moy. They're like the Moy.
No, what is that? What is that? No, are they called the Moys?
Yeah, like if you type in there's an emoji on your phone and
he has such
like the
a
Easter egg, the Easter Island
like
head.
a cartoon good looking face. He's just like, I don't know. He's just a chiseled jawline surfer dude face. That's yeah, and he
every point you've
like
added to the JDM segment has been non sequiturs.
Sorry, it has.
It's all been non everything.
He's just
been
throws everything off though.
Do you stand on your head? Is it standing up? Like everything just all the time.
He has the soul patch though. That throws everything off. Surfer boy, dude. No, not at all.
Yeah, he does look pretty West Coast.
Is soul patch not a surfer thing?
Soul patch it can be, but it can also
can.
not be.
I think it can be.
What is it associated with if not surfer?
He's in his like spiritual surfer bag. That's his.
Yeah,
that's
it's like
the
hippie.
new look.
Soul
I like
patch
it.
is like hippie.
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking
Doesn't
like
have to be
super
surfer.
country. I don't know.
Oh, is it?
Country? No, country is goatee.
Oh.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
country's
like the
goatee.
country music singers, they
bro.
got the soul patch going on.
Oh, I guess that's true. Well, but is that like an affectation? You know, are they trying to get with their audience?
Okay.
Question.
All right, let me try and wrestle this back on track.
I mean,
the
let's
addition.
go to the new topic. Let's just go to the next
Well,
topic.
I want to ask this first.
Okay.
When we were talking. When we were talking about Jesus Christ, when we were talking about FaZe before, we were saying that they would benefit from
image. That fucking image.
Howie Mandel soul.
I mean, Kurt's.
Okay.
I mean,
Good stuff.
Kurt's losing it.
That's
Who is Howie
See, that-
Mandel?
You don't know
First of all,
Howie Mandel?
Howie Mandel soul
Mandel?
patch is not at all hipster either. See, this is like
He's
see,
from,
the thing about this. He's like
iconic game
he's
show.
a
You know,
coastal
the
elite.
one with the cases, and you open the suitcases.
Deal
and
or no deal?
Yeah, Deal or No Deal. Thanks.
Yeah.
He was the host of Deal or No Deal.
Yeah.
He must have done something before that. Surely that's where celebrities go to die.
No,
More than likely.
I think he. I mean, listen. I don't know. I'm not.
Also, he's
super
Canadian.
familiar with
First
his
of all,
career.
didn't know he was
been-
Canadian.
I haven't been following the work of Howie for decades. I just know
He's
from
been
Deal or No
a
Deal.
judge on America's Got Talent since 2010.
Okay.
But that's after Deal or No Deal. I think that's how he.
That was
blew
after
up.
Deal or No Deal. Yes.
Oh.
That's how he got.
So he's been
clouded.
doing that for the past 11 years. He's been judging Does America Have Talent for 11 years.
Does he have an answer?
Well,
I would
clearly
imagine
not.
it's
The show's still going.
inconclusive
It's
still.
been on for 11 years.
They're desperately trying to find talent for the last 11
Any
years.
talent.
They've been scouring America for any shred of talent.
In this quest.
When we talked about FaZe, you motherfuckers, when we talked about FaZe, we said in the past, it's been a common theme that somebody who knows CS and can instill fundamentals, discipline, protocols, that kind of thing, would be helpful for FaZe to mold them into a team that doesn't just go for crazy aggression and like disrespect, anti-CS kind of style. Is this the move that can help them in that direction? Trippy wasn't that person. Trippy found ways of empowering their pre-existing style. Can JDM, you think, morph them into a team that plays a little more with some structure that can help them be more normal?
I think definitely not. I don't know about like what he's going to bring as a coach, but like knowing him as a player, as the opera that he was, and I didn't watch between the period when he was on Liquid and then I think he moved to Envy or something for a while and didn't do that hot the entire time. But like he was always somebody who I didn't think had that aspect to their game. He felt very much like a take the op to a specific spot. Your IGL is telling him to go over there and then hold for a bit. Similar to sometimes how Wardell plays when TSM is very stagnant and slow. So no, and I think just in this op base is ridiculous, by the way. But yeah, I don't think that he has that level of, I don't know, capability to bring that. It's not like he, I don't know, when you're the opera, you're always very in the back, more quiet than everybody. You're just trying to focus on the shots that you're hitting. And him as a player was always in that vein, not necessarily hitting these smart plays, hitting smart rotations or doing anything super dope in that regard. So no, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about another team then. Let's move our attention over to EMEA because we want to talk about Liquid signing the brother duo. They've got Scream. They needed the second arm of Exodia. So now they've signed Nivera. Possibly in the future, they'll get
How many
mother
children
and
are in the
father.
Benrel-Tom family? How many offspring do they have?
Do they have
Can you
5?
make a full team? Will it ever get to that point?
But this is also, as far as we can tell, a direct replacement for Cryptics.
Yeah.
Nivera's career profile also got leaked by Yampy on stream. Don't know whether anyone saw that, but he was basically just playing Sentinel. So unless that's just casually doing something completely unrelated to the team, it does seem, from all appearances, like he will be slotting in directly into Cryptics' role, as Cryptics is, I think they phrased it as taking a break, but I don't know how accurate that is and whether that's
He
just
said he actually tweeted personal like reasons.
Yeah,
Okay.
he said it was like just because of personal life things that he had to step back.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, listen. I do like him. When we talked about this, we talked about this before, Liquid making a move before LCQ, and I like it honestly. I think they hit the ceiling. It felt like to me, in that last qualifier, in which they had all of the fucking miracle juice flowing. They were clutching everything, and they just couldn't cross the finish line against Gambit. I think it was time to have some kind of shift for the team at that point. I don't know how good Nivera is. I don't know how much better his firepower will be than Cryptics. I think that's one major question. And if it is, though, I think that is one simple thing that can honestly level the team up. I think that's a role where individually, in terms of the fragging, there could have been some improvement. And if that's brought even in that regard, I think that could help on like bring their average up by a bit.
I want to break that down into 2 parts. First of all, the timing of the shift as well, and whether or not they were capped, because I do agree the Liquid looked like they'd reached their ceiling. We had this conversation before, and we all had different opinions based on this too. But their ceiling in that tournament, the fact they were almost able to get through against Gambit, yeah, it took crazy clutches and all the rest of it, but their competition is essentially at LCQ going to be Supermassive Blaze and G2. Those are the only teams that you would really rank above Liquid right now, heading into EMEA LCQ, as far as I'm aware. Those would still have been beatable by Liquid in that tournament, I think. They would have definitely had chances of being able to beat those teams. So it's not like they had no chance with their former roster and their only hope was making a move. They could have gone with the 5 had Cryptics been in a position to play LCQ. Does this concern you, Balla? Because I know that you're normally a fan of sticking with it, trying to make the changes from inside the team, at least when we talked last about Liquid.
I think Cryptics is the person they should have gone for, yeah, in terms of replacements. And one of the things about signing Nivera is that this has clearly been in the works for a while. Like there was rumors all the way back. I don't remember, like when Jampy got unbanned from CSGO, that Nivera was planning on joining, or Liquid was planning on signing Nivera, right? So in that aspect, I'm more hopeful. But yeah, just in general, not super keen on teams changing significant parts of their team before, or changing outside of the game before major events. I don't know. I know literally nothing about Nivera, so can't really comment.
Yeah, this is another one that's tough because there's literally 0 data. It's just, yeah.
I think by now as well, there will be people in the comments and in the live chat and stuff saying, oh, you know, JDM was this good at CS, or Nivera was this good at CS, etc. But I think at this point, we're far enough into Valorant that CS data is not correlated perfectly, or even perhaps at all, with performance in Valorant. If you're a top player, how good you are in that top level might not even be correlated positively with your performance in Valorant.
Sounds like a little Josh Sideshow stat dive, right?
I mean, that is way too difficult for me to do. That would require somebody with a lot more brain power to look for that level of correlation. Because, I mean, how do you even define success in that way?
Of crunching, too. Like they would have to get a lot of different examples, and, like, where do you define, like, CS success?
You could try and correlate player rating in the last year of their CS career with ACS in Valorant or something and see whether it positively correlates. But I think that would be... I think the end result would be 0 correlation because there's so many tier 2 players that have popped the fuck off in this game. So I think that would muddy the waters so much that you would essentially have no correlation at all.
Even that rating is literally like all over the place because they're playing different teams, right?
Sure.
They're playing tier CS or whatever. Like, so it's a mess.
But I just wanted to add that in because I know there's going to be people like, Nivera was a fucking god, he's going to save this team or whatever, or Nivera was shy, he's not going to do well. But we really do have 0 data.
One of the things that's good about it is that Cryptics was never like a major part of the strategies that Liquid had, right? It's never Cryptics like his lurk is critical to the round or whatever, you know, or his aggro, anything. Literally was never seriously a part of the round in other than like the basic stuff, right? Let's go put down a Killjoy ult and stuff like that. Like,
it was very much
that
a role
stuff
player.
should easily be replaceable no matter what. It's just a matter, in my mind, of actual gunplay from Nivera and whether he can play with the limited mobility, limited anything of Cypher, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly.
Or even Viper. I mean, they might run if he has really good firepower, they might try and lean into him being a bit more active and play a ton of Viper kind of comps.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at with it though. Like, it's going to be his first time playing in matches in Valorant. If his firepower is good, I think that just raises their average level a bit, and that's really all that they should really be hoping for at this point, honestly, right? Is that he comes in, has good fragging. I think their average immediately goes up by at least a little bit, if that's the case.
Sure.
And that might be enough. I mean, that might be enough. Like, again, to go back to their qualifying run, it was, they were on the edge. They almost did it. Just a couple more kills can make the difference. Just a couple more in some of those rounds. And if he's able to bring that could be all they need just to get a couple close wins against SMB and G2. Very doable.
Yeah,
then,
it is very doable.
I mean, it is very doable for them. And then they'll make it champions. So.
All right, I've got a question for you all now, and I know that this one is going to bother you. Coming out of Berlin, there's a lot of questions. Coming out of Reykjavik, I feel like it was, clear that Sentinels, best team in the world, NA got the bragging rights as the region which housed the best team in the world, perhaps the best region in the world as well.
Right.
Coming out of Berlin,
aside from Korea. What?
God damn.
What?
You've become everything you hate.
Understand?
You've become everything you hate.
I can't even have this conversation because you guys just don't understand the gameplay. So, you guys just
coming out of Berlin. Is EMEA stronger than NA? What's the regional rivalry looking at right now?
This is an honest Cold War Mighty Ducks rivalry. It's the US versus CIS. This has nothing to do with the EU.
I've heard that take from a lot of NA fans on some serious copium. No, I'm not saying EU.
It's for an honest American storyline. Is what it's for. It has nothing to do with copium.
Yeah, I mean the CIS also does have another pretty decent team in Navi as well that look like they have some potential, but their player base isn't good enough to dominate the game at the moment.
I just remembered, speaking of CIS, this isn't about the topic, but One Breath Gaming signs players to steal the LCQ spot of the CIS area. I think it's from Forza.
Yeah, they did, didn't they? That was wild. That is a bizarre situation going on there. Maybe we'll talk about that more next week when we go towards LCQ. But for this topic, here's what I want to get from you.
Okay.
CIS is part of EMEA, so
fine.
Get the fuck out of there with that wiggle out of that debate. The two regions coming out of Berlin. How did you feel about the strengths of them both? How did you feel they matched up? The NA teams placed pretty highly. I mean, Sentinels ended up being the lowest placed team of the three that ended up being fielded, and they're still a very good team. Where do you feel the regions actually match up right now?
I don't know. It's tough because even if we hearken back to Reykjavik, all the talk after that was about how, okay, NA has the best team right now by far, but the average in the top level of EU is higher than the next 5-6 teams in NA. That was all the talk then.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, does that mean that EU is there was that talk then, right? Is it a similar situation now, do we feel, but in the reverse? Because I don't really think so.
I don't think even that coming out of Reykjavik, with the benefit of hindsight, is true. I mean,
sure.
I think the level of teams stepped up after Reykjavik. Like the Envy, the 100 Thieves, they weren't as good at Reykjavik as they are now. They have improved, but the gap was never as big as we thought it was, I think. The gap was large, but it wasn't enormous, the gulf. The Sentinels were consistently getting the wins, but it wasn't... they would have still been able to get those wins in EMEA as well, I think. The level of the EMEA and the NA teams is pretty even outside.
Yeah, I think that whole narrative of average, what is it? NA being having a couple good top teams and then the rest of them being far and away worse than the rest of the EU is not true. I think that's pretty clear. Especially if you go back and watch the opens all the way through to the challengers and stuff like that. There are a decent amount of NA teams who are challenging and still getting pretty good. Obviously you have Xset, but even going down further, right? Going down to Dark Zero and Ghost, for example. Dark Zero fell off a little bit, but Ghost looked really strong. Renegade's always been pretty decent. I think that narrative can be put to rest, especially given the results at Berlin, right? Envy 100, all the NA teams doing decent, minus Sentinels, all right? and they still made playoffs, albeit in an easy group. Well, was it easy? Now that you think back, nah. So yeah, we put that to rest. I want to propose a new narrative about EU though, which is that EU, because of the way that their styles are in general, they have a lot of distinct styles, but none of them are the NA way, like Sentinel's way, where very fluid. They can go for full like structured play. It's always discrete, right? It's always one or the other. And because of that, it creates a lot of coin flippy situations in EU, which makes it really, really random. And never are we going to see like consistently the same top teams out of EU. And that's going to be bad for them. And it's always going to look bad in terms of the results. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're weaker. It just means that their diversity struggles.
Okay.
So NA is
I did not follow. I did not follow, Balla.
What all saying is that NA is the better region, the more consistent region.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly. I think Ball is just saying because Europe has such a breadth of styles, it's very hard to get an accurate gauge like on where they currently stand all the time because they play so many distinct styles, and very few teams in EU have a very like peak Sentinels, where Sentinels could play like a very fluid style of gameplay, but also have some cool set plays. No EU teams have the ability to really do both at the same time.
But that doesn't mean that they're worse. It just means that they are. It means that we're never going to get a solid representation at the top of the same teams over and over, but they're still going to challenge those NA teams. You know, that's how it's going to be. You're going to get, well, I mean, Gambit's kind of a special case right now, I feel like, but like Ascend, for example, they go very, very full out pugginess. Like, let's just go straight for the on the fly calls and stuff like that with one idea and just hope that we can outfrag, right? And then there's Fnatic, which is very set up, very tactical, very structured. And those will always be able to fight against the top. But in EU, they're getting in so many of these coin flippy battles because Fnatic style.
You mean kind of rock, paper, scissors
style.
rather than coin flippy, where it's stylistic matchups?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I see the argument there. Yeah, I can understand what you mean in that situation. I feel like that is not going to hold for the future, though. I think all of this is just as scenes develop and as teams learn which style their team wants and how to integrate different ones. Over time, teams are going to get better and better at integrating new ideas into their play, and so I think those teams will certainly develop that over time. To me, when I look at the two regions, pre-Berlin, there was a clear top four in North America. I mean, it was Sentinels, 100 Thieves, Envy, Exit.
Yeah.
And then there was a sizable gap from that top four to the next. I don't know whether that gap is going to exist for LCQ, but I also think that in Europe, there's a pretty sizable gap, or rather, there isn't a discrete drop, but there's just a constant, like, slowly getting weaker and weaker and weaker as you go down the thing, because there's more teams, there's more variety that you're getting injected from Turkey and from CIS and from EU. There's a ton more teams, so you're likely to have more of a sense of like continuous decline rather than discrete. So to me, it feels like there are probably going to be at any one time more EMEA teams that can compete at a top level, but the North American scene is going to be able to produce extremely good squads. And what I'm interested in moving forward to LCQ as well is seeing whether that gap still exists between Exet and the fifth best team, because I don't think it will do. I think Cloud9, I think the like FaZe, Rise, those kind of teams, maybe even a Gen.G or whatever, might be able to step up and bridge that gap somewhat and look like they're another elite tier squad in North America.
Yeah,
I think it's well, first of all, an important thing to this argument then is where do we view then, if you're talking about this stylistic argument, Balla, to clarify, where does G2 fit into that? We put G2 as more as like the flow state team, like sort of the Ascend, or do we put them more in the structured? Because I kind of feel like at points during this tournament, during Berlin at least, they were like sitting kind of between.
Well,
states.
it's not like a line, right? It's more like there's it's like a triangle, I guess, in terms of how many differences there are, right? So G2 is very, very NA-esque.
Yeah.
I think. That's how it felt like watching them, but then again, they were heavily focused on 2 players to do a lot of their stuff rather than the I don't know. I have to watch G2 a little bit more, but it definitely felt like it was slightly more individual than NA has been recently.
Yeah.
God, it would be. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but some sort of tournament, or I don't know what the league structure will be in the future, but just some way of seeing like the ranked like 5 through 10 NA versus 5 through 10 EU. Like, that would, I do think that would be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, it would.
Let me see BDS and NIP against Gen.G and FaZe and see what happens.
Who knows? Next year, maybe we'll have an international LCQ. Like, that could definitely be a thing.
Maybe, maybe, because I think some of those games would just be, it would be so interesting to see.
Yeah. I mean, in theory as well, if the game got big enough so that tier 2 tournaments still had a large amount of viewership, and somebody like ESL still wanted to run a tournament where the top teams that had qualified for champions or whatever weren't allowed to be invited, then in theory you could still see a tournament like that being run, where you get like the second crop of teams, which would still be I think that would be really cool. I think my money would still be on EMEA for that kind of 5th through 10.
Yeah, of course it would. Of course it would.
It just would. I mean,
my money would be on.
Of course it would.
Damn one. TNL.
this did.
Furia.
Yeah.
No Org 2.0.
No, this is we're not allowed to talk about Brazil anymore on this podcast. We're not allowed to talk about Brazil anymore.
Vikings are going to get new duelists before champions. Just you wait.
Nope. Remember, we put an embargo. All Brazil talk. We're not allowed to talk about Brazil being good anymore until
they're in the
show up
FPX
international.
box. Brazil are in the FPX box.
They're in the we put them into the FPX and into the FPX box.
Aren't FPX just like somehow creeping their way into the LCQ right now?
No,
by the way, by like killing a team and something.
They're out.
Almost. It was really close. It was really close. But OBG or One Best Gaming was
my
better.
personal take. Stars and Stripes all the way, baby. Rock, Flag, and Eagle. North America.
Yeah. What's the rock there? What's the rock in Rock, Flag, and Eagle?
Plymouth Rock.
Plymouth Rock. Okay.
Plymouth
all
Rock.
right.
Yeah.
I like how you just. Kurt, I'm actually disappointed. Like, you just let Josh get away with this topic title. Like, what
is EMEA stronger than NA versus like a not?
Yeah, I've got to make it provocative. Yeah,
I can hear the keyboards clacking right now. I can hear them in the distance.
I feel like it's fair to say that they're relatively. I feel like it's fair to say, if anything, we should be discussing how it feels very. There's a lot of parity currently, especially off of the international event versus one region looking stronger, right? It's like exactly. That's a better title. Thank you, Kurt. That's a much better title.
Okay. All right, moving on.
Okay, based on results at Berlin, you can probably put that outside.
But I feel like parity is a better topic though, because sure,
SMB didn't even make it out of groups.
Iceland, SMB didn't make it out of groups, but then also Ascend had nearly beat 100 Thieves.
Bombed out.
No, I don't know if it was
Strikers. And then
actually take that. They did lose to a minor region. Wait a minute. Now, thinking about this.
Yeah.
And when we think about this on average, so NA won the first event and then performed overall better at the second event, even though they didn't win it. So in that case, actually, scientifically, North America is better. So put that
scientifically. Okay, moving on, because I've lost this argument. Yeah. I wanted to talk about the viewership, though. Berlin viewership against Reykjavik viewership, because there was a lot of discussion about this heading into the event. I think we all hypothesized that it probably wasn't going to reach the same heights as Reykjavik because you don't have that same draw of the first ever LAN event. But we were saying it was possible to reach 1 million if they'd had the right clout matchup in the final.
I thought it would because of the storylines being so good and the popularity of some of the teams at the moment, but yeah, I mean, well, the popular teams were in the final. So you had the least popular NA team there, and then also you had a team from a region that isn't doing well in regards to their own region's viewership.
Yeah, nobody watches CIS. They have like 5K
if
viewers.
Turkey, if SMB were in the final or something,
G2.
there's a lot more viewers from regions. So.
But you can't control that, right? Like that's the natural
that's
variance that gets introduced.
Yeah, and inevitably those players and teams need to get introduced to a more mainstream Valorant audience that will be interested in watching. Watching them, because after this now, Gambit will obviously get more viewership. They will draw in more viewership.
There was a Cypher dominating my game last night. He dropped 36 against us, and all of our team were just talking about how it was Nats in disguise.
Yeah, that's what that's what I mean.
Kind of
like
thing.
people are going to want to watch Nats going forward now. You know what I mean?
People would have said Dapper after Iceland.
Yeah,
and now they're saying Nats.
Yeah.
It's like this trickle down effect into the casual.
You had to
understanding.
You had to get the exposure for these teams at some. I mean, it's just inevitable.
Could you pull that back up though, Kurt?
It's gonna happen.
Because what it shows as well is that the highest viewed matches were G2 against Sentinels. Both times they played, they peaked over 800K. I believe the overall viewership, including co-streams, was 850K, something like that, because Shroud had like 40K or something as well. I don't exactly know. And then the final was actually... What, sorry?
This includes co-streams.
Oh, does it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it includes co-streams.
All right, then. So it's 811K.
Hey, we're in there too. Nearly 6,000 of those viewers. That's us. That's us, guys.
True. Very true.
And then the finals were the third most watched with less than 700K. Now, I say less than 700. Those are still incredible. That's still incredible viewership. But when you're thinking about finals comparison of 700K to was it 1.1 million? Or
it was
it
like
just
1.1
over 1
to 1.
million?
I think it was like around 1 to 1.1 million.
Okay, so we'll say 1 million. So that is still a very large gap between Berlin and Reykjavik. Is that concerning? Do you think that makes it feel like Berlin is more the norm moving forwards and Reykjavik was a complete outlier?
I don't necessarily think it's either, really. I mean, Reykjavik will be an outlier to some extent. Well, it is an outlier to some extent because it was just the first LAN event after not having LAN event for... We'll probably never experience this again in esports, or at the beginning of an esports life cycle, where there's just such a long period of time where you're seeing zero international competition, and just waiting for this one moment. I mean, unless there's... hopefully there's not another pandemic, and that doesn't happen again, because that would be great. It probably won't happen again, though. So that is an outlier in that respect, yes. Also, though, it's just one of those... I think it's one of those scenarios where it's just such a perfect matchup with a lot of personalities, and you have the Sentinels super clout going into that. They have 10s for the first time. They're dominating everyone. It's just... I think it's all, it's a kind of a perfect culmination of things there, right? And I mean, I do think that a lot of it is just, it's very personality driven right now, which is one of the reasons why the scene is doing so well, but one of the reasons why this final was less popular. There were just no big names drawing people in. The big names got created by this game for the future, but they didn't exist to draw people into this game. So,
and that's why I'd make the argument that, to be honest, the numbers are promising, right? Because you still have, for what we just said, Envy was the least popular NA team there in the grand finals against Gambit, a team that nobody watches in CIS. Albeit it was very, very, very hyped going into this, so I think a lot of people were excited to watch them. Still pull 700K in a final. That's pretty good. They were beating the ESL CS:GO finals, which is pretty significant in terms of direct comparison, literally happening at the same time. Well, actually, I think it was a Sentinels G2 game, but either way, like I actually think it's promising. You're introducing all these people to a new audience, and they're still watching, and retain, and still like we're talking about, every one of those players is now gaining significant. I don't know what the word is, but people now know their names. People will
followings.
Go clout. Well, they'll continue to go back and watch whenever Gambit is playing now, because they got hooked onto them winning or the story or whatever.
I'm pretty sure
so
that's
I think it's
like
promising.
jumped a ridiculous amount of viewers, or not just viewers on his stream, but also followers and stuff. Like his hype went like fucking through the roof. Like, so overall, it should be, I think essentially 700,000 viewers between two teams that no one really, in terms of the wider viewership, because also you have to take into account, it's not just like hardcore fans. So like, yeah, there's a lot of hardcore fans watching this, but there's a lot of casual fans watching this. It's like, oh, like I want to tune in and see this cool game, and I'm watching a co-stream and stuff. And like, if I'm watching a co-stream and there's like maybe a match that I don't want to watch, I'm like, I tune out. Or like, so the fact that, like, look at that, holy fuck, that's crazy. Like, that's insane, the growth he's had.
Oh my god.
So I do think that
is insane.
That's just legitimately nutso, like what's happening.
Yeah.
And like you talked about earlier, Wyatt, this has now established the mythos moving forward that if Envy and Gambit are playing again, and those teams are playing, they're now like, oh, Gambit's a team that won Berlin. Envy's a team that has the monster, the El Diablo on it, right? Like, we want to watch these teams play. So there is essentially, that's sort of the benefit also of like this sort of structure currently, is that there's a kingmaker where you can sort of make kings independent of their content game. Because the reality is, like, yeah, Sentinels did win a lot, which was huge to them being the most popular, probably the most important part. But also, very solid content team behind them, probably one of the most dedicated in terms of the Valorant scene.
Yeah.
And also, G2 is like the meme org that has like some of the best social media like presences out there in esports. So I do think it's pretty impressive that we were off what was the first LAN event with the most popular team in North America, Sentinels, and we got to like physically, like, yeah, it was way below, but it was still pretty impressive. So I think the viewership is fine.
Yeah.
I think overall, since we still had 1 million viewer game between G2 and Sentinels 2, it shows that the viewership is still able to reach those peaks again.
Well, it wasn't 1 million. It was 800K.
Well, wasn't for that one. Oh,
was,
that's right.
It was 800K,
yeah.
but
it was 800.
I mean, again,
But that's still
800K
close.
for a
That's
group
still
stage
close.
game
Like,
is just
it is.
it's nuts.
That's really good.
Absurd. That's
nuts.
fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
just
still think
the
the viewership is still
playoffs
there.
didn't follow that trend.
I mean,
forward. They also
yeah.
sorry, I just wanted to point out as well. Esports Charts, which is this website that collates all of this information, put out an article summarizing Reykjavik too. I can't find the link to it, unfortunately. Maybe Kurt can, where they were saying that even though the viewership was lower in terms of peak, I mean, watch time is a silly stat to try and compare because the actual amount of time the tournament was way longer. But what they did look at was viewership for the qualifiers too. Stage 1 and Stage 2 qualifiers versus Stage 3 qualifiers. Because that tells you about the growing fan base that's willing to tune into any old shit, like any qualifier stuff that you put in front of them. And the viewership is growing significantly from stage to stage. Stage 3 was the biggest. So it's not like people were just more excited in the run-up to Reykjavik, and then it's petered away. We didn't peak at Iceland.
Yeah.
It's just that there was still a bigger amount of interest leading into Berlin. It's just that the outcome of the games dictated less viewership towards the playoffs. So to me, it comes down to Champions. I think if Champions doesn't reach 1 million viewers, that would start to be concerning in terms of the peak. And you're
Unless
looking for
another
constant...
just wild final of two teams that no one knows yet.
But I think
but even then,
it should
be around it. Yeah.
I think even for a group stage game, if the group stage for Berlin is getting 800K, but Champions where everything's on the line and you've got all of these teams from various regions, it's like the pinnacle of your competition. I feel like that is the real measuring stick for year one of LAN Valorant as to where we're headed. And here it's comparing them to other FPSs.
Yeah.
The comparison that Balla was making earlier to ESL Pro League Season 14 here too, which peaked at 759K concurrents during the grand final, which is still less than Berlin. So Valorant's still doing excellently, but I feel like the trajectory is yet to be determined based on the extra data point of Champions.
I was going to say as well, just lest we forget that I think Europe started like crawling while NA was running last year in regards to the streams, the production, the storylines of the team, the content that was being created. There was nothing.
Yeah.
The scene, and even at the beginning, because of that, at the beginning of this year, you saw it in like the Masters 1, how much worse the EU viewership was compared to NA. But then immediately after Iceland, the EU viewership immediately started going up significantly.
Yeah.
So I think in regards to a lot of the EU teams' own respective popularity and then regions viewership and the interest from fans and the players there, they started behind.
Do you think that'll happen with CIS? CIS has been the worst viewed region that I've seen across the world.
I mean, I think that was one of the. I think that might have been the biggest reason as to why the final was less viewership. I think if any other team from any other region was in the final with Envy, it probably would have had more viewership. I think CIS has to be the lowest viewed region.
I don't know another region that has fewer viewers than CIS.
Yeah,
I know
every
other region
which
has
is
more.
shocking given that they have currently the best team.
Yeah, they just love CS:GO and Dota 2 and Valve games more than anything else. Yeah,
but it's so if that changes and if this gets more, I mean, surely the viewership will go up after a team from their own region having won, right?
They don't even have an English stream, so probably not, right?
Oh, do they not provide an English? No, that's right. Actually, whenever I watch VODs, it's in Russian. I assume I don't speak the language, but yeah, that's got to be a big factor for it.
I was a little actually scared going into Berlin though about the numbers because of how long the event was going to be and also how reliant the game has gotten on co-stream. Jesus Christ!
Sorry, 1,700 average viewers. Or 1,800, I suppose, for Challengers 1, Stage 3 in CIS.
And this is with Nivera and Gambit, by the way. Like, this is the first one. So the second one had none of those things.
Pretty good.
Jesus Christ.
Wait, why did Forza and SNG pop off? What?
I don't know. Somewhat, maybe they got raided.
They got raided by the.
They got raided by VCT.
Are there large CIS co-streamers?
Not in Valorant, I don't think.
They're starting to like integrate CIS co-streamers.
Oh, really?
What if we become a CIS co-streamer?
What if you, America man, learn to speak Russian?
That would be helpful. I think that would be nice. That would be an important stepping stone. But I feel like it would be far better if we just instead do it as a group. And we just do a very just terrible like Call of Duty-esque Russian accent instead when we do co-stream. I feel like that would go over really well with the CIS.
Yes, they'll love that. They'll love
Do they have Manscaped in Russia?
They should.
They use code VALOCHAT20?
No,
they should.
They're fucking using knives, bro.
Another region though that's almost on the opposite end of the CIS is Japan. Japanese Valorant went dumb fucking crazy.
I mean, you just
Berlin.
saw on that graph, Zeta Division were the 5th most watched team.
Really?
Yeah, do you want to pull that up again, Kurt? It was like Gen.G2, 100 Thieves, Envy, Zeta Division.
Yeah, that is wild.
I mean,
also, Zeta Division
was more over crazy. Yeah, I was about to say over crazy.
But Zeta Division's the full Japanese team, so I assume that they're even more hyped about Zeta. But
and they were the better team going in, and I don't know if they were still a better team at the
I think
end
there
of it,
was one of the reasons for this is that one of the Zeta Division games was like good. I think it was
the one against Crew.
Crew was really close.
The one against Crew, and that was when they won a map.
Yes.
Or was okay.
Yeah, they won a map.
So they won a map then, and that was in the perfect time slot for Japan because Berlin is like directly like offset with Asia, so it was really difficult to have them in the right time slots. So the Crazy Raccoon games weren't as well timed.
Right, those were at like 4 a.m. For
example, the Crazy Raccoon Gambit game was happening. No shot Japan or any Japanese or Asian Valorant fans at all were watching that because I was outside having dinner at that time in Europe. So
they were. The thing was though, those were at like 4 a.m. and they were still getting 100,000 plus viewers though, which is just crazy.
Yeah, that is.
I mean, that is some crazy dedication.
Do you know whether this is primarily coming from co-streams? I imagine it is.
I know there's one Japanese co-streamer that's huge.
I was following. There's Stylish Noob. He's popping off. He's always about 50% of the viewership.
Right.
Which is significant. But the Valorant Japanese, and there's a lot more co-streamers as well that are doing their things too. So I think co-streaming was like 50% all the time because I was trying to track it, and at one point it was like 380K from Japanese viewership alone, and the Japanese stream had like 150K.
Right.
Like the official Japanese stream.
Right. So it's hanging around half. That is that is extraordinary. I don't know another game. I don't know whether that's common in, the fighting games that Japan is excellent at, like when they go to Evo and they just dominate it and stuff like that. I don't know whether there is that level of support from the region in terms of viewership. I'm completely ignorant on that aspect, but it has blown me away in Valorant how much Japan is invested in it. And I feel like them both teams being able to take a map at this event, because Crazy Raccoon took one as well, did they not?
I mean, they beat.
They took a whole series.
Yeah. Of course, yeah, they beat Havan Liberty. They beat them completely. Yeah, I forgot about that. The fact that they had so much success surely propels the region forwards as well, and just makes them more excited about things. I was worried there'd be a bit of a dampener on it after Reykjavik, where they just got destroyed, and they were like crying in the interview afterwards, and they just seemed like their dreams had been shattered. Like Neth was so emotional afterwards, and the interviewer was as well. And I was like, "Fuck, are they gonna realize that they're not competitive on the world stage, and it detracts from the audience's enjoyment?" But it doesn't seem like it did at all, and it's only fired them to get better and better. And now they're in a state where they can be competent against some of the top teams in the world.
And one of the big takeaways for me as well was just that they do have very legit individual players that could compete at a very high level.
Laz and Takajay in particular.
Neth as well.
Yeah,
there are some really good Japanese players. And it might just be another situation where it's just we're checking our watches and we're waiting for the time until there's an excellent super team of these players put together that can, I think it's very reasonable that there will come a time where there will be that team that could crack a top 8 like how Crew did in this event,
Yeah.
I think that's super reasonable, especially when you look at, just how good some of those guys are.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah.
They could absolutely do it. It's just a matter of getting the right team.
We need them to be good because Wyatt, he's stoking the fires of Korea so he can come to Korea. But the rest of us, we can come to Japan. Okay, we'll come to Japan. All right, we'll go hang out there. Though also, I would like to go back to Korea too. So I'm down for both. So either way,
you guys are both sides.
Fucking Korean too. Fucking, let's just go.
Playing both sides on this one. I do feel like though that it is legitimately crazy because this is probably the first. Actually, this land in particular, even though I don't know if we have them on the topic list, Crew. I don't know if they're on this topic list necessarily.
Go for it.
But this is the first event I feel like we actually got to see minor regions look like we walked away and people were like, wow, like minor regions. Like the general viewers were like, wow, really impressed with not just from Crew and like Crazy Raccoon and some of the stuff they did, but also of course ZETA and even at points what the hell? The
SCA team.
Paper Rex. Yeah, Paper Rex. There was a point where we actually were able to walk away from this event, especially with some decent finishes from the likes of like Crew, that the minor region, that there's something there, that the minor regions have something to play for, and that there's a real, I feel like because of this Berlin performance, there's actually like a lot of potential. This is what we want to see from Valorant, is we want to see because that's the kind of the unique thing about Valorant, more so, yes, and when we look at like the wider scale of it in the esports scene, is that it's not just the traditional markets of like, EU and NA, but we can really capture in the tac shooter market, get Asia, the minor regions like SCA, get Japan, get all these other things and then obviously even though CS and things like that are very popular in like Brazil, and I'm assuming still relatively popular in parts of like in other parts of like what we see for like North and South Latin America. I'm not too certain on that, but it's still great that we can get all these traditional markets and also get some of these other minor regions have decent performance at an event and show that they can compete and get those regions hyped and invested and interested. Because that's really the long-term end goal of the scene, is not just to build a CS 2.0, but to also make it a much more worldwide scene. And that's what we want to see.
Yeah. And it just brings such I don't know. I think the best way to make maybe the point I'm attempting to illustrate is the emotions that Connor was feeling while watching Crazy Raccoon almost beat Gambit. How that was just a life-changing experience for Connor. I mean, it was just those matches though. When you watch these teams from the minor regions, giving it their fucking all, and even though they lost to Gambit, it was still so close.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the most fun matches of the tournament, by far.
Sure.
It's just so fun to watch these teams and watch them improve. It is just exciting.
Yeah.
You just want to root for them as well.
I gotta say, after the first day when Gambit flattened the Raccoons 13-1, 13-1 or whatever, we were definitely having conversations on the couch like, should the Asia teams be in a region together where they qualify through? You have to kind of battle like an EMEA system where there's multiple regions that feed in. You have to make it out of there before you get added into a pool like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, the overall impact that I came away with from Berlin was not that. It was the opposite. It was that, okay, these minor regions are actually putting up a decent fight. And not just that, they're improving from event to event. Because at Reykjavik, they did just get destroyed. And then at Berlin, there was some level of resistance, some competition, crew makes top 8, that kind of stuff. I think that's a positive sign.
I was scared after the 13-1 that it was going to be Neth's interview crying all over again type of situation. But I think after watching G2 get 13-0'd, he should be really, really proud that they got 13.
Very true. Okay, next topic is based on agent pick rates. Is it finally time to get rid of Jett? Just drop her from the game. Just delete her from the game. No.
Just remove her.
Should she finally be nerfed in a way that is significant? They have nerfed her for this patch. We went through the patch recently. What are your impressions of the Jett nerf? And is something bigger required to try and get the game to shift away from the paradigm that's been set up for over a year now? How long has it even been? It feels... It's been a year and a half.
I can't remember the last time Jett honestly was not like meta, like other than like when European teams were sometimes like playing no duelists.
The beta
squads.
I think it may have been the beta. People did not realize how good Jett would be.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you do? I think the inherent problem, right, is dash ability, op gun.
Yes.
When put together, very strong combination.
Even dash ability rifle is very, very, very strong.
Yes, very, very strong, but if Jett could never op, it would be manageable. It would be powerful, but...
Do you think so? Because I still think that Jett would be playing a different game to other people.
You think so? Because I think that if Jett could only rifle, but they nerfed some of her other abilities that made her less
less of an all-rounder,
like distracting and effective at getting space, putting down so many smokes, the maneuverability, the space creation. If she was less good at that and playing elusive around having so many smokes, etc., with a rifle, I don't think that's as powerful. Just holding an angle and trying to hit the shot dash away is not as... I don't think that's so good on its own.
But that's not even
be broken.
I don't even think that area is the issue. The dash away, the dash.
That's what I'm. Yes, that's what I'm.
Wait, you think?
I think you might be misunderstanding what I'm saying. I may have not put it the correct way. I'm saying that if that's all she could do and wasn't opping, if she could hold angles and dash away with the rifle, and she was just used to dash into sights and throw down smokes and distract with the rifle, and they just nerfed like the amount of smoke she has and that kind of thing, I think that she'd be powerful but not so broken. I think it really just is the op to me, that the dash with the op is just too good. I mean,
that's for sure. I mean, I agree with that, but that is the
critical issue.
Isn't broken as well.
Well, I agree with Balla in that there's two issues. The op issue, absolutely, and the fact that you can only op on Jett is the biggest issue to me. But then the dash in general and how powerful she is. So if we all agree that the op is one of the issues, let's start there. Let's talk about the op and Jett first of all. If you were to try and concoct a situation where the operator is viable for usage on all heroes, not just Jett, what would the change be? What would you have to do in this game?
I got it. I have my solution. I feel like this is not a meme solution either.
Oh,
I feel like this is
1v1
legit.
arena.
No, this is not a Bryn solution. This is not some sort of. We're not going down the rabbit hole.
Okay.
I'm simply thinking, what if because they haven't. I don't think they've yet to actually do something like this. But there's also a very specific instance where this is so strong. What if they had it where when Jett, they specifically have an interaction where when Jett fires a shot on the op, there is a slight delay until they can dash.
That was my initial idea when this has been proposed. You know when you take a shot with the AWP and you have to wait for the gun to kind of recoil? I don't know what the technical term for that is at all. But my proposal originally was you can't dash until that recoil is finished. So until you can take another accurate shot, you can't dash away. So you can't just instantly shoot and dash.
Because she's kind of a tiny lady, you know? She uses all of her energy to handle the recoil, and she's like, oh, I'm kind of tired. I can't dash, you know? And like that. So lore-wise, lore masters, they can back me up on this one.
What do you think about that, Balla?
Yeah, I would love that change. I think that makes a lot of sense. It brings her more in line with some of the other characters who have escape abilities or space-taking abilities. Compared to Reyna, for example, with Dismiss, compared to Omen with his DP, Raze with her satchels, right? There's something ahead, and it's not like you're using it as a reaction, except in the case of Reyna, but you actually have to do something beforehand, right? It's the same thing here. I think I like that solution actually a lot.
I do. Wait a second. Avast has cracked the code.
Avast got the code?
He's cracked the code to
Now,
Valorant.
technically, Josh did say that was his initial idea, so I feel like I've just said his idea out
No,
loud.
we're going to give you the credit.
No, you get the credit for that.
We'll give you the credit now.
Hey, Riot, get me on the dev team. I do consulting.
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see the cooldown. I'd like to see the cooldown be the same as with Yoru almost. You know when if you leave a teleporter up as Yoru and you take a shot, you can't activate that teleporter immediately. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, you got to stick your arms out and
you got to
pull yourself in there. Yeah,
you got to go like that. So I'd like to see Jett like, and then she just dashes away. You know,
she charges up and then
it's like cartoon running. Whenever Wile E. Coyote drops off a cliff and he's like, and then he falls. It's like that. She does like a wind up animation with her legs, and then she dashes away, something like that. Do you think
and
that
it has
in general,
to have the noise too?
yeah, that has to be the noise. If that would be a good change, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that would be a good change in general? Do you think having a small delay, because that was what Anders proposed recently, was that there was a small wind up. So similar to the Yoru of like, poof. If there was a small wind up delay on just Jett dash, period, would that be a good change, or would that go for clunky and just make the hero feel bad? Because it would be fine to engage with. You could still dash into sites with that, but it would nerf specifically the holding off angles, and you either are trying to dodge utility or getting overwhelmed, or you take an angel and you realize you're losing it. Like, those are the scenarios in which that delay would hurt you. Is that a good shift for her even when she's rifling?
Oh, wait, when she's rifling too?
Yeah, just a blank change on the dash where it acts like a Yoru TP. There's a wind-up animation before it hits. Would that just be a good
if it
blanket
was
change?
applied all around? So yes, I
it
think
just
so.
applies no matter what gun you have. Do you think that would be positive?
I think there's
I kind of like the recoil idea more than the blanket early delay.
I kind of do too.
Okay.
I kind of do too. I can't get this idea out of my head now of just watching Jett do like the Doomfist charge animation. You know what I mean? Like, what if she what if you had to charge up and that was how far you dashed? You know what I mean? Yeah. You had to like charge for a second to get some distance on it.
Well, wouldn't that potentially... Oh, okay. So like you would still have a wind up, but it's just there's also a charge component now too. So you theoretically could go like, could you launch yourself from like if you're playing like Haven and hitting A site and you're just gonna like launch yourself into heaven from the dash?
Not like that. Not like that.
So
but
it would
like,
still go the same distance if it was full charge.
If you were full charge,
but it would only take less than half a second to fully charge. It'd have to be pretty quick.
Yeah, maybe
right?
it would be kind of quick. I don't know. Yeah,
I think that would be quite difficult to.
I think it'd be too
evaluate.
clunky though. I definitely think it'd be too clunky if you had overall delay though, because like also why would you play Jett? Why would you play Jett compared to some other agents?
Pull up the state of the agent article, Kurt. They just released one like literally 2 days ago or something like that, where they literally talk about this whole Jett topic.
Oh, really?
See, that's why. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, and they talk about how it's hard to do any of this stuff that we're suggesting without getting at the core identity of the character and also the funness of the character for everybody who plays her, and that's pretty much everybody who fucking plays the game. So
yeah,
what website was that, Balla?
I can link it. It's on the Valorant website. So
see,
Fate of the Agents.
That's why I'm really not the. I think I was trying to explain what I was saying poorly, and it was kind of convoluted. But what I was trying to say at the beginning of this talk was essentially that, yeah, I think that for me, the op is so much so the problem with it that if you did a change like that with the recoil, just on the recoil op where you wait for the op to reset, then you can dash. I think that if she could insta-dash while you had a rifle or any other gun that isn't the op, I still think Jett would be powerful, but more fair.
Right.
And I think that would probably be fine if she's powerful, but more fair with the op. I think I think I would be fine with that. And then at that point, when they do nerfs, like how they just did with, okay, she has one less smoke, right? That level of nerf then matters more if you're doing more rifling on Jett.
Sure. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then those nerfs become more impactful. But those nerfs right now don't make a huge difference because it's the opping that is so important. So I do like the idea of genuinely just that recoil with the op, wait for it to reset, then you can dash if
and
you're
just
opping.
see how she feels after that.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a third issue here, which is her economic vibe, like her economic impact on the games with her knives.
Yeah.
Not only are her knives incredibly strong as an ultimate in comparison to everybody else, but also they just like she is so good economy wise, which no other agent is.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's how I would approach this if I'm a developer. I like the idea, especially after Champions, of having a major meta shift for 2022. And so I would like to enact changes that are even possibly deliberately heavy-handed in an attempt to see how far can you fuck with Jett before people don't want to play her anymore. Like, how much can you mess with the agent before people actually dislike it? Because at the moment, they did remove her smoke. They changed her knives to the right click. People are still playing Jett. People are still playing a shit ton of Jett. I haven't noticed the change too much when I play. Obviously, the right-click change is the biggest because you have to be conscious in your head that you're not going to get the knives back. But it's not like you have knives every round anyway. It only impacts 3-4 rounds in a match. So, and even those don't all have instances where you would be right-clicking somebody. So I'd like to see them be deliberately heavy-handed with it, go in a direction where you are hardcore nerfing Jett, and see if it actually does impact the game in that sense. Do people stop playing her? Do people dislike her much more? Is she significantly less powerful? If she is all of those things, that would be a bit of a fuck up from the developer's point of view if you have the idea that you must create a balanced game. But I think with a game like Valorant, you can mess with the heroes a bit, and the agents, and make some powerful at different times in the game's history, some weaker at certain times in the game's history, and have a flow to things and introduce a bit of a meta. And if Jett ends up being a bit too nerfed, you can undo some of those changes or tweak them back. But I think at this point, from my point of view, it seems to make more sense to be heavy-handed with it and then start reeling things back the other way than make slow tweaks to try and take her down and down and down. I'd rather they hit her with a sledgehammer and then started repairing her back up a bit, because then we're going to see what the game looks like without Jett, or when everyone can op. And I think it's going to make a major difference. If everyone in the game could pick up an op, that is a huge, huge difference to how the game plays.
Yeah. Will there ever be a reality where everyone can op? I just don't think that's a possibility.
No, I don't think so. And I'll tell you why, because the abilities are spread out amongst the team, right? So not everybody has the tools to combat op. So it will never, if it is, then it'll be way too strong.
I also propose a secondary idea too. What if the solution to Jett? Well, not that we shouldn't attempt. I feel like the op change is an inherently good change because to me, like more so than anything else, there are still ways to punish someone with a rifle if it's a Jett, even with a dash, because you're far less likely to get the one-shot kill when you're trying to go for the pass with the op, right? Like even if you just only see like one portion, it's way easier to use utility to clear them off the angle. And they're far much, especially if they're holding like, let's say the classic like watching a lobby from a long of Haven, right, on defense, and they have the op. Like you just smoke them off, even if they have the rifle, it's very unlikely you're going to die to it generally, as opposed to an op. But what if the solution is more so there just needs to be another agent that fills the role of Jett? That is a similar role to Jett. There needs to be released different types of agents, and that way, instead of, because also you could make the argument of like because Jett's kit is so singular, you just need to have overlapping pools of different agents to where you can tweak as you go.
A bit like
where
the
you can
Sova
still
argument. Sova's
Yeah,
mega
a bit like
powerful.
the
He gets
Sova
played all
argument.
the time, but the fact that we have Sky now does actually create.
It does
shift in-
temper it a bit, exactly. Like because I feel like that's we've run into. I mean, we've seen that issue with games that we ourselves have participated in, like Overwatch, where there's certain heroes that only one hero does this thing. And I think the same thing for looking at Valorant now is that maybe it's an issue of agent variety as well.
There are other agents in the game though that have like the way that you dash into a site is somewhat similar to the way that you could blast pack into a site. And the way that you are able to disengage from fights is somewhat similar to the way that you would dismiss from fights. But the biggest difference is that Jett can do it without having to kill anybody and immediately does it without using an ability. It's a quick, like what do they call it in the game? A quick switch or something? Quick equip? I can't remember what.
Yeah.
A quick cast, I think it's called. You don't have to pull out a blast pack and then activate it. You just instantly do the thing. There's no gap between thought and execution. That would be very hard to replicate in another agent without it feeling like Jett, I think.
But also the terrifying aspect of that idea is, what if we just get two Jetts and we just start playing two fucking Jetts all the time, every single game?
True.
Like,
Yeah, that is a terrifying possibility.
Do you think people would?
Well,
If you were allowed to play double Jett in a game, do you think people would?
Full Jett.
Fuck yes.
I think people
Double
would,
Jett,
right?
Yeah, if you could run
Oh,
two.
I mean,
Jets,
that's
it's
just
different.
because it's just the best base thing you could hope for, which is just better chances in aim duels and getting and moving around and
If
having
you could
more
run triple Jett, you'd
ability.
run triple
I mean,
Jett.
that's-
Like,
You'd have like imagine the eco rounds where you have like
triple
fucking
Jett.
3 people with knives. Imagine the fucking eco rounds.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
quadruple
That would be
Jett is too far. That's too far. I wouldn't play quadruple Jett.
wild. Yeah, just a replication team ported into VCT.
Well, movement abilities are good.
Yeah, they
That's
are very
what
good.
I've discovered in my
Yeah.
time playing Valorant and
Yeah,
watching
or
Valorant.
basically any FPS, movement abilities are king. Anything
Yep.
that adds speed or whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, we're going to end the episode on some fairly sad news, though, actually, from the APAC LCQ, which is that ZETA Division, the Japanese team that we were saying were like the third most popular, fifth most popular, whatever it was, team
Yeah.
of Berlin, and the Chinese teams that were going to be participating have dropped out of LCQ, citing ping issues. And I originally thought that this was a LAN event. I thought APAC LCQ was going to be a LAN. So this was incredibly surprising to me to see. But as far as I can tell, only North American LCQ. And so ZETA Division and the Chinese teams are apparently no longer going to be participating. Balla has a frown on his face as if I've got non-up-to-date information. Is this?
Oh no.
bewildered.
No. I didn't have the information. I was surprised to hear about the ping. Like I didn't look into
when
it.
I saw the announcement, they said that it was to do with ping, and I was amazed actually. I thought that it was for sure going to be a LAN event because you've got people from all over the APAC region. Yeah, here it is, Riot Games Japan. Following the postponement of participation by multiple Chinese teams and the withdrawal of participation of ZETA Division, the number of participating teams from each region in the APAC LCQ has changed because those regions aren't being represented anymore. So Japan is going to have a different team instead of ZETA Division, apparently.
Yeah.
I think.
So like probably
And-
North option.
Yeah, and
since
South
they came
Korea and
third.
Japan are getting an extra slot
Yeah.
each, which has made the Indian teams pissed off as well because they thought that the South, I think it's called like the South Asian region, which is not Southeast Asia, it's South Asia, which is like, yeah, and I don't know which other regions, to be honest. But they only have one region and now, or they only have one slot and now Japan has 3. So they were like, what the fuck?
Oh, Japan has 3?
Yeah, because they gave one of the Chinese
had...
slots to Japan.
Why did I think they only had 1? Oh, yeah. Well, they got a lot of teams going.
They got one at
That's-
Champions, I think.
Yeah,
or 2 at Champions. I can't
Very
remember. It's all
disappointing.
different.
That's extremely
slots for
disappointing. I
Okay,
mean, that
okay,
means
so
we can't fulfill
it's-
the meme of the China teams watching them for Valorant. We just can't. We can't actually watch Chinese Valorant anymore.
That's true. They've been locked in the closet forever.
Yeah.
Separate in your mind, by the way, the ZETA and the Chinese teams, because ZETA is a different reason for dropping out than the
Right.
Chinese teams. That's why I was confused and didn't.
Okay. What is Zeta Division's reason then?
I'm pretty sure they just want to retool.
Right. Okay. They're just rebuilding their
Yeah,
roster. Or
I mean,
something.
I saw that they were playing in some other third-party tournament with like a mix of them and some crazy Raccoon players. Like they were playing with
Yes,
Neth,
yeah.
which is kind of cool, honestly.
Yeah.
If something happens where there's a Neth, Takage, Laz team,
Yeah, that'd be
I'm
sick.
here for that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It is unfortunate though.
I'm sad we don't get to see China participate, but in some sense, it does just mean that 2022 is the year when Chinese Valorant is going to begin.
Yeah.
Because although there has been an underground Chinese circuit, which sounds silly, but in some sense it was underground because the game wasn't even released in their region. They were playing it on like, I don't even know what accounts they were on, like Southeast Asian accounts or something. So the fact that they're going to probably, I'm assuming here, but going to be integrated into a VCT 2022 system properly, we're going to get to see what their level looks like. I think that it makes more sense. It would be pretty weird to see them for the first time with a qualification spot potentially for champions. No? I think that's just a little odd.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was odd, but like I just assumed it was just a privilege being given to them as like one of the largest esports countries on earth and one of the hugest markets, essentially, and is integral to other Riot Games ecosystems. So I just assumed that was going to be like a privilege given to them for that fact. And like, if you earn it, you earn it. So
I think we're gonna have so many minor regions at champions anyways that it would be negligible.
Yeah. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Okay. It is time now for the most important award.
Waiting.
We're waiting. Oh,
Isn't
we
the big news
decided
this
we were
week?
going to discuss that next week, Kurt.
Oh, we're gonna wait till next week.
Yeah, so
okay.
just as a look behind the curtain here as well, if anyone's wondering, there are a lot of things about LCQ, both for North America and EMEA, that we've chosen to push to next week's episode because there's still a week's episode where we're going to do like a deep dive into LCQ where we'll be talking about the EMEA format and the teams and who's favorites and North America and Fracture and all of that shit, or Fracture not being in it and that kind of stuff. So, but we're going to save that until next week. Now it's time
Oh, okay.
for the most important segment every single week.
Sure.
What is it?
The weekly award.
Who's?
We've seen this trophy before. Wyatt's weekly award. But who's getting it this time?
Yeah.
Back to the old
Who's getting it
original.
this time?
It's gonna be hard.
I've been mulling it over this whole episode. I've been mulling it over.
Like a fine
God.
Christmas wine.
Yeah. Who's going to get this weekly award? Who's going to get it? Back to one of the topics on the list.
Okay. Which topic?
Is EMEA stronger than NA?
Okay.
And I've decided, upon viewing further evidence, that EMEA is the superior region. So I will be giving the award to Europe this week.
What?
And now I'm gonna show you why. Kurt, could you pull up? So there's this thread that I saw where apparently Zom said in a Twitch chat that Sentinels are to boot camp in EU before champions. This is definitive proof that EU is the better region, clearly fielding the better teams. Sentinels not going to practice in North America? No, they must go to Europe to play against Ricks.
Where there are.
So this is definitive proof that EU is the better region. So EU will be getting the weekly award this week. And I guess for also winning Berlin.
Is it proof, or is it proof of EU being better? Is it proof of Zoms and Sentinels not being true patriots and skipping Thanksgiving? Like,
Wow.
Also, maybe they want to get their confidence up before. Maybe they want to get their confidence up before champions. They want to go to a minor region, beat down on it a little bit. You gotta get their confidence up.
The America Man
get through
take.
that one.
Thank you, America Man.
I also wouldn't say Zoms making a statement on anything is classed as definitive proof.
I mean, he's probably just saying whatever in a Twitch chat.
Do you know he bought the Balenciaga Fortnite collab? He spent like $500 on the Balenciaga Fortnite shirts.
No, he didn't. Did
yeah,
he really?
did. He posted it. He posted it.
Listen, the value is going up because they're limited. There's like there's only 500 of each thing.
I bought the Balenciaga Fortnite NFT.
That's even worse. That's what I was about to say. That's
don't even know what that is.
The shirt.
I mean,
yeah, there it is. Right there.
But he's got there's a limited amount. It's good. The value's increasing, Josh.
No, it's
not. Increasing. It's like those crypto coins that the kids are investing in. The value's going up.
It's like Johnny's like thug ducks, you know, that he talked about. It's the same thing.
What?
Jonathan bought an NFT of a duck.
Oh, nice.
It's called their
he'll be rich any day.
They got like glasses.
He'll be rich any second now.
Any day now. Any day.
But anyhow, I figured I'd throw a little bone to Europe this week for the weekly award. And they did. Yeah, Gambit won Berlin.
Yeah, but they're CIS. You reject their inclusion within Europe.
It's kind of a win for Europe. Kind of. A little bit. Not the whole thing. If Fnatic win champions, then we're talking.
But only Fnatic.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, there's other teams that can win champions too. Who else is there for Europe?
Ascend, Gambit.
Oh, right. Yeah, if Ascend.
Whoever comes out of the. I mean, maybe G2, SMB, Liquid.
Here come Team Liquid.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna. I've got faith in Team Liquid. I'm gonna be honest.
We'll save that copium until next.
Yeah,
week.
save that one. Yeah,
save that.
I got a little bit of faith in Liquid. I think Nivera's the truth. Trust me.
On what basis? He might be.
I've been looking at his tracker.
This guy.
Oh God! All right, we've got to end it. Wyatt's deep into it.
He's lost his marbles.
He's deep. Do we have a welcome to member to do, or is it all just still lost in the sauce from our co-stream, Kurt?
Yeah, I think everybody that wanted to become a member did it during our co-stream.
Excellent.
So
okay, wonderful.
Thank you
No
for
new members.
Being members.
Appreciate everybody that did join to members. We have a giveaway that we should be getting on top of at some point soon, so we'll set that up. But,
it's on you, Josh. You're the one that promised it.
Yep, I'll do it. Yay, me. Making more work for myself because my big mouth doesn't know when to keep it shut. Hit us with a sub. Been appreciating the support recently, and we'll be back next week with a topic all about LCQ.